to think about.
All right, Julie, if you could call a roll.
Kara Caston. Here. Ken Dawson.
Here.
Cheryl Fuller. Here. Jenny Hagstrom.
Here.
Trey Pavicic.
Here.
Don Renner.
Here.
Gianna Hunchy. Here. And Nala Mokat.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Saying that tonight just means a little bit more.
Yes, it does.
Hank, student perspectives?
Yep, I'll invite Arlen.
Good evening. Is it on?
You're good.
Okay. Good evening. I'm really excited tonight to showcase our DGS summer trip to France. It classifies as a student tour that the board approves and Ms. Gina Zaccardi helps us with. So not only did it bring so much joy to the students and to South community, it was really fun for me to follow them on social media and via email. But I also thought it would be nice for the board to hear about the actual experience since ultimately the board approves the tours. So we have tonight our sponsor, Ms. Sophia Rayon. She is here to answer questions and support the students, but really this is about the students. So I'm going to invite our 4 students up and they're going to tell you about their summer trip to France.
Parlez-vous français?
C'est bonjour.
That was it.
Okay.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Okay, hi. So this is our slideshow about our French trip. My name's Ava Arthur. I'm a senior and I'm in French 5 this year.
I'm Kim Torres. I'm a junior and I'm in AP French this year.
I'm Vanya Bogdanovich and I am a senior and I am in French 3 honors.
My name is Sydney Stapleton, and I'm a junior here at Downers Grove South, and I'm in French AP this year.
So our planning for our trip started a couple years ago during the 2021 and 2022 school year. To begin, we just started with surveying a bunch of students in the French classes, seeing who would be interested in taking the trip, how many days, and what activities we'd be interested in seeing, and different price points and how families would feel about committing that money to the trips. As we went on to get a little bit more involved, we started with 2 parent meetings, and this was for families to get to know about the information that would be about safety, finances, and just general itinerary of the trip. We had one of these at the end of the 2021 and 2022 school year with a greater amount of just logistics and an idea of what this trip might be looking like. And then we had another one 2 weeks before our departure at the end of the 2022-23 school year where we went over stuff like packing and just getting really into the details of what this trip is going to look like, specifically flights, and really going over the rules and what's going to be expected of the students. To prepare for this trip, we had 2 fundraising opportunities. One we did in the fall, which was a Brilliance laundry detergent fundraiser where students could sell laundry detergent and other supplies like that. And we had another one, which was Giving Bean Coffee, where we could sell coffees and teas. And those were great ways for students to help raise funds for their trip because a lot of these trips were student funded and came from the pockets of students themselves.
Okay, so over the course of our trip, we got to visit a lot of different iconic French landmarks and just a whole bunch of different experiences. So on the first day of the trip, we started in Paris. We met with our Explorica guide, Andrea. Unfortunately, we didn't have our entire group with us because half of our group got stuck in Germany because they missed their flight. But half of us still got to experience the first day, which was visiting the Louvre. We got to visit the Latin Quarter, and we got to walk along the Seine. On day 2, we finally had our whole group together. And on this day, we got to take a bus tour around France, where we got to see the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and the Luxor obelisk. After that, we got to visit the Palace of Versailles, where we took a guided tour inside the palace, and we also got to visit the gardens around it. And day 3 and 4, we got to visit a bunch of chateaus or castles, and we learned a lot about the historical and architectural value of each castle, and we also got to explore the surrounding towns. And we ended the first half of the trip by taking a 6-hour-long bus ride down to Montpellier.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I guess I'm gonna leave. Okay, so I'm covering the second half of the trip. So as Vanya said, our midpoint was Montpellier, and our tour guide kind of just added that into our itinerary, but it was super cool. After that, we traveled to Arles, and there was the amphitheater, so those pictures are in the middle, 2 of them. And we also went to Pont du Gard, which is the aqueduct all the way on the left in the middle. Some of us I hiked up all the way to the top. Some of us got to swim over there.
Cool.
And then the next day we were in Cassis for a boat ride, and there's a picture of the top. It was absolutely gorgeous. We were on the Mediterranean, and cliffs. We saw people cliff jumping. It was beautiful. There's no other way to describe it. And then our last 2 days we spent in Nice and Monaco. I loved Monaco. I'm a big Formula One fan, so I was kind of geeking out. And then Nice, also gorgeous. There's a picture of some of us on the beach. And then we also went to a parfumerie, so we got to buy our own perfumes. And yeah, and then last day we had to leave, which was kind of sad, but it was really fun. So yeah.
All right, so what new perspectives did students gain from this trip? Students who went on this trip were given firsthand experience as to what French culture is like. In deepening their understanding of French culture, students are more able to appreciate not only French culture, but be more open to new experiences as a whole. Students who gain this willingness to embrace new things will also become more active learners upon their return to school. From personal experience, I know that going to a new country can be scary, perhaps not due to knowing the food, transportation, or culture, but because I had such a good experience on this trip, I was really able to overcome this fear and be more open to new things as a whole. I also know from personal experience that having the opportunity to try the new things that come along with a new culture can encourage students to want to learn another language. As right now, I felt inspired by that trip to learn Russian. For many, this trip also served as a financial goal to work, save, and fundraise for, which teaches students about the value in saving money and working towards a goal. I can also say that this trip really built friendships and relationships, as I wouldn't have known any of these people or any of the people on the trip as well as I do now if I hadn't gone. And I think Ava, you wanted to talk about your experience too.
Yeah, I just want to add like 2 more things. Besides what Sydney said, I mean, the trip personally for me kind of solidified the fact that I really wanted to be fluent in French. So this kind of just made it like I was there, and after the trip I was like, oh my gosh, like this is something that I feel that I kind of need to do. And I'm a senior, so I'm applying to college now, and my hope is to be a French minor because of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm very excited about it. The new opportunities that this has opened up for me. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to go that one. But if you guys have any questions, we'll take any questions too. So, yeah.
Was this your first time out of the country for some of you, or?
For me, no. For me, it was.
No.
For me, it was not.
And does this give you some thought about potentially studying abroad in college?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. And how often were you able to use French on the trip?
Every day.
Really?
All the time, constantly.
Okay. With your tour guide and with each other, or with just members of the community?
I think like with each each other a lot of the time with members of the community. So that was really helpful. It was helpful to hear how like someone who like grew up speaking French might like say things to you, or like I guess building that listening comprehension. So that was really helpful too, to kind of like experience that also.
And in addition to that, the students who were on this trip were from all levels of French.
Okay.
Like my sister went on the trip with me, and she had only completed French 1, whereas like Ava has done, she's in her 5th year of French now. So getting to interact with each other and kind of help each other learn more of the language was a really transformative experience that isn't really present in the classroom because you have to be in that environment to interact with it.
Also, adding on to that, our tour guide, he was amazing. His name was Andrea. I miss him so much. He was the best. He spoke like a lot of different languages. But he told us like one of our first days, he was like, listen, if you guys want to practice your French with me, like I'll have a conversation with you. So we also had that resource, which was awesome. But like we got to utilize French the whole way. So
as the week went on, did it become more comfortable? Because I can imagine initially feeling nervous because you're actually interacting with the French. Did you feel by the end of the end of the week, did the comfort level change, or was it there from the beginning?
No, I think that it was very, like, when we started in Paris. So we were like immersed in like a very touristy area. So people there did speak some, like there was more English present in that city, where if we needed a little bit more assistance, people could kind of help us out. But as we got more down towards the south of France, where maybe they don't have as much English knowledge, we really kind of had to lean into it. And I think that really helped, kind of knowing that the more we got immersed into it, the more we had to rely on it, but it also built our comfort in knowing that like the more we did, the better we got, and the better the conversations got as well.
While you guys were over there, you have a chance to interact or meet any French students that live in Paris or surrounding area that are your age?
I think a little bit, yeah. I think definitely like we were given, most days we were given like a little block of time where we could go out into the city like on our own. And I think everyone had different experiences regarding that. So it was like, there were definitely opportunities to like meet other like French people our own age, I think, like kind of within that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Wow.
All right, thank you.
Congrats.
Very good.
All right. Student board members, I can't remember who went first last time.
It's her turn to go first.
All right.
Stick with
Holly,
the DG.
you're up.
Stick with the DGS. All right. Hello, board members. So the first month of school has gone by already. Well, I guess so, right? Yeah. And through that, we've had many different experiences. And for example, I'm going to start with curriculum night, where parents got to come into the school and got to see classes and all that. There was a few volunteers there helping parents guide them throughout their classes, because I was one of the helpers, and they were confused in the beginning. Like the first 4 periods, they were confused, and then after that, they kind of got the hang of the building. And my mom also went, and she got to see the cafe and everything, and she said that the lines were out the door, like they were super long. So the parents just got to experience how students were, right? And they got to see how long these lines can be. And then right after curriculum night was our Mustang Fury, which was like the next day. So here all clubs got to just showcase their club and recruit new people. And all throughout, you could see how energetic everybody was. Everyone was so ready to just include other people into their club and get as many members as they could. And there was also a few like people who would just go out there and they would sign their name on every single sheet just to join a different club, right? Just to see how it's gonna be. And then last week, or the last 2 weeks, with our access sessions, I know the 9th graders, they got to see what access actually is. And I know a few leaders went to their classrooms and just updated them on rules that they should know about the school year and more about like how they should go and reach out for help for teachers and just different areas just to help them through the next 4. And they also got to play like a Kahoot for candy too. So then there's that incentive base there and they can actually be engaged through the sessions. And then our sophomores and juniors, they also had focused presentations on about productivity and how to be productive the first 4 weeks. And they said that some of the lessons did help them and they will try to use those and utilize them through the next semester. And then our seniors had our senior focus presentation. So here we were updated and had a few like facts about how to start the college application process and different methods we can use for after high school. So those were very helpful for us, and through that we also got our homecoming theme, which is Barbie. So it'll be really pink, but it'll be a great theme.
It'll be pink.
Yeah. So I guess we're still deciding on the dress up days and all. So I guess that will be a fun update to see how Barbie works out in our homecoming theme.
How do you decide that? The theme of homecoming, is that a student decision?
Right. So there was a Google form sent out to all the students the first week of school, and there was a few cool themes on there, but Barbie was the winner, and
That's cool.
yeah, and so everyone. Yeah, a lot of people are excited to see how it is, and then other people are like, "Oh, Barbie." But I guess at the end of the day, everybody just has to suck it up and do it, right? Like, in a nice way. And then along with that, our sports teams, we've had a few crosstown like matches, like for tennis and football.
Yeah, you guys
and unfortunately, Downers Grove South did lose both of them, but it's okay. It's okay. It was a close, for tennis it was a close match, and then football, it was football. And through, we've had a successful first month of school, and we're all excited for the events happening for the next month or so, just like the music bowl or like the string festival happening, and all of that will be fun to see, and hopefully everybody can come out to that just to enjoy things. Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Do I just click?
No, you just talk.
Just talk.
Hi. Oh, there we go. Hello. So coming at that from the North perspective, curriculum night was also a success for us. My parents came home and they were like, wow, that's a lot. And I was like, yeah. My mom really didn't know how to find my second period class, but that's okay. She figured it out. I kind of like that, like my parents at least had my schedule like printed out and ready to go. And I have a younger sister who's also at Downers Grove North too. And so they like divided and conquered. And they like went to all the classes. So that was super fun for them. Our activities fair was also this past week, and that went off. That was very good. There was a lot of really good engagement there. I had to run 3 tables, and bless Mr. Mirandola because he put all 3 tables next to each other. So thank you. But that was really good. There was a lot of engagement there between all of the students, and it was really great to see people be interested in stuff that they normally wouldn't be interested in. Like I had people who are seniors that came up to my tables and who had never done these clubs before that were like, oh, this looks really interesting. I should try this. It was just like a great way to really display everything that our school had to offer, and I thought that was really valuable. Our homecoming theme was also just released. It's Neverland. It's like the Peter Pan thing. So Monday is drive-in movie, and that's also Barbie versus Ken Spirit Day. Tuesday is Dress Half Your Age Day. Wednesday that's Peter Pan versus Tinkerbell, right?
I'm looking at it right now.
And then, and then Thursday is Pirates versus Fairies, and Friday is Purple. Yes. So yeah, all in all, the first month in general was really good. Our access classes, I was talking to my sister about her access classes, a lot of sophomore focused classes, just how to stay on track. And the senior classes have been really, really good about this is how you request a transcript. This is how you submit your test scores, because unfortunately we have to apply to school this year. So it's been a really, really valuable to have like my counselor come in and be like, this is how you like apply to college and use the Common App, and this is how you like submit your AP scores. That's a really big one that a lot of people don't know how to do. So I think definitely more stuff like that would definitely be very valuable to us. So yeah, we're doing good.
Well, I like to say I'm happy to hear of the return of Barbie, because I was reading about it. And then Peter Pan, there's also something I'm familiar with. So it's not things the latest TikTok star, which I would have no clue about.
Yeah. Our drive-in movie's Barbie.
Oh,
So-
so I'm excited about both, because they're both, I'm familiar with both, so.
Yeah. You can support it too, so.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
Oh, and our little plug, our DGN football team is 3-0, which is really good. So we're doing good.
All right, any other questions for our student board members? All right, moving on to the content for this evening. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and Lisa, who are joining us tonight for the first presentation.
Hello, everybody. Side note, glad to hear that Access has started off good. This is probably the shortest presentation you'll get from me all year, so here we go. Summer school went well. We had more students participate in summer school this year than in years past, mostly because we increased our driver's ed numbers. I was able to hire 2 additional driver's ed teachers this summer. So instead of serving 50 students, we served 80 students. I've already had another driver's ed teacher show interest for next year, so I'm hopefully we'll get up to 95. And then we top out of cars, I think. So I don't know if we can go any higher than that. We also had 67 students sign up for credit recovery. So for credit recovery, we had 67 students register, earning about 34 and a half credits, and it graduated 11 students. We were hopeful that it was going to be a 12th, but that student still has 1 class to make up. So you can see the breakdown there at the bottom. 55 students enrolled in 1 course, and they completed 34 courses. So we do have students who initially register for summer school, but part of, doing summer school is that personal drive and responsibility that they may not have finished those courses. And so you can also see that the more courses you sign up for in the summer, the harder it is for some students to stay organized and finish. That's why we try to, make sure that we're keeping kids on track during the year rather than relying on online courses over the summer. This is a grade distribution. It's pretty even from throughout the school year. For example, during the school year, 40% of overall grades were A's, and in the summer, it was also 40%. Where you start to see a little discrepancy from during the school year is the B's, C's, and D's, because online classes, you can only earn a pass or an incomplete or a failing grade. So we did have some students that didn't finish by the end of summer, and some of them are continuing. Some of them dropped then that course and re-enrolled in the fall. But otherwise, the grade distribution is pretty equal throughout the school year. This year, I added a couple of categories. Last year, when I presented for summer school, the other category was like 20%. And I believe a board member asked me a question about why is there so many other? And so I broke it down a little bit. And so instead of just asking 4 categories, I asked 6. And so whether or not they're repeating for credit recovery, 41% of the students did. But you can see I added the repeat for an improved grade. So 13% students that took summer school passed originally. They may have gotten a D, a C, or a B, and they were retaking it in order to earn a higher grade. So that was 13% of our students. 20% of the overall students who participated in summer school were for driver's education. And then 14% were enrichment, whether that's AP Chem Prep or the reading strategies class. And then 5% of them took it for flexibility, so something like consumer education, right? They wanted to get that credit out of the way. We had 1 class of 30 students for driver's ed, or for consumer ed. I still got a 7% other. which I was surprised by. It's a little bit of like, I meant to choose driver's ed, or I'm not sure if my student passed or not, so I'm going to choose other. My counselor said I had to sign up for summer school, or if they didn't see consumer ed as a flexibility, that they chose other. So I'm not sure if I'm going to refine that question any further, but at least it gives you a better bit of breakdown on who took summer school and why.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa Ballo. I'm the Director of Special Services for the district, and I just put up sort of a little bit of a definition for what we call extended school year, ESY, which is the sort of special education equivalent for a summer school, which is why Ryan and I put this together. So typically the student population that qualifies for ESY every year is largely our population of students at North and South who are in our multi-needs programs, as well as our students who are at T99. And so through federal law, it really is just indicating students in that group are eligible and we are required to provide an extended school year opportunity for those students. And so you can see down in the purple section where it talks about the historical perspective prior to 2020, we used to, as a district, utilize SACID exclusively for providing that ESY opportunity. And then as 2020 hit with COVID, obviously SACID, among other places, were not able to provide those opportunities during ESY for obvious reasons. And so we saw that as our opportunity to really punt and create our own program. And we did that on the fly with a virtual opportunity that summer. And so I'll go through some of the numbers on the next slide, but that really then sort of spearheaded us to say, okay, we were able to put that together really quickly and do a nice job even virtually. So let's go the next step and the following year provide an opportunity in person for our students and do it ourselves in District 99 rather than go through SACID. So that shows you sort of the yearly breakdown there. And this will show you some of those enrollment numbers. So if you look in the top left corner box, the blue box, again, historically we use SACID. And so the last year that we provided in-person ESY services through SACID, we had only a total of 27 families access that opportunity. And a lot of times the feedback we would receive from families were, it's only usually about a 5-6 week program. My students don't really know the staff at SACID, so therefore it doesn't really make sense for my student to go. Other families just really like the opportunity for their students to continue with that structure. So there were 27 students within our multi-needs programs and transition only that were really accessing that ESY opportunity. 2020, the virtual, we were able to do better than that even through virtual with the 35 total students. Then we provided a breakdown by building just so you can see. Bottom left corner then, that shows numbers between 2021 and last summer that we went from 61 students to a total of 82 students this past summer. And we have always just sort of housed it at Downers Grove South simply because we're kind of like all in one hallway. And it was just nice and easy for the students to really identify that hallway as their summer hallway. And South was very good to us during those several years. And then next year, now that we have had the build out over at the Transition Center, and because of that population of students is eventually going to matriculate to transition anyway, when they're done with North and South, our plan is to have our ESY program located at the Transition Center this next summer. I also like to always just kind of give a cost breakdown because I think people would kind of think like, oh wow, back in 2019 we only serviced 27 students and now we're 82. Like, oh my goodness, how much does this cost? Like, just to see the comparison. And I think that's pretty astounding. Yeah. And I think that we attribute that this last year, these 82 students, we're not renting facilities. We're able to really hire our own staff and be very meticulous in who we're hiring and how many people we're hiring, and how we can control our transportation costs and material costs and all of those pieces, which, as you can see, it's definitely more than half. And we're providing 82 families that experience an opportunity as compared to that 27. So we're doing it better and cheaper. So we're looking forward to next year and being over a transition center, not only because of the great facilities and our students will get an opportunity to see eventually where they will be, but because of really the location, it gives us a lot of really direct access to community opportunities that are just really close in walking distance over there as well.
How staffing at summer school and ESY works? Is it our staff that then, I don't know, North and South, I thought maybe it alternates each summer. Like, how does staffing work? And is it a challenge to get people to staff somewhere?
Yeah, I would say, so we do alternate for general summer school. So we were at North this year, we'll be at South again next year. And it's open to any staff member and also external staff members. I would say, though, it typically is the same group that applies. I do interview every internal candidate that applies. And then if we need to go outside, we do. So we had two external driver's ed teachers, one external math teacher. But most of the teachers we have, they come back every year. Scott Parker's back every year. Megan Mars is back every year. John Waite's back every year. So we do have a sort of a core group. I would say the toughest subject for me to hire is science and math. So, for sure.
Yeah. And I would say for special services, we really stuck it out at DGS simply for the consistency of the student population, going back and forth between each building for, we have incoming ninth graders that come, and, it just was going to be consistent for the students if they really had to learn one building for summer rather than go between two, which is why we stayed at South. And as far as hiring staff, it's a lot of work. 82 students require a lot of staff. And so I'm very happy to be able to say that I think the grand majority of staff are our staff, which is why I think our parents choose to send their students to our ESY program. If I had to hire a bunch of outside staff who didn't know the special needs of our very specific students, I'm imagining that number might look a little different. We do have to hire agency folks at some point to be assistants, because that's a very large group of people that we even have to do during the regular school year. But I would say the lion's share of staff are our District 99 staff.
How many students do we have at T99 this year?
70.
So we're going to have more in the summer?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And that total number, that 82, also includes, the exact number I want to say maybe is about 15 of those 82 are students who are also competitively employed in the community. So they're not at ESY the entire time. Some time of that time they are working, so there's a little bit more of a flex. We don't have 82 students in classrooms at the exact same time for this full period of time. But that is absolutely something that we would be able to use now that we have 2 multi-purpose rooms as well, to be able to use that flex, although we do have 8 classrooms. So I think we're going to be in good shape at T99 to be able to house, our students for our summer school programs.
Thanks for sharing the cost breakdown. That was
Yeah.
definitely one of my questions, so I appreciate it.
I will say it surprised me. It's always been less. It's always been less. But when it came in quite
Much
substantially less, I was surprised by that, simply because as the administrator who runs it and I see how many people we have to hire, I'm like, oh boy, this is a lot of people. But even so, because we're able to control a lot of the other costs, we keep the total cost down.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa and Ryan are allowed to run away now. right, I'm going to turn this next one over to Gina.
Okay, so I'm going to take some time tonight to talk about 3 areas that are related. Advanced placement courses, our dual credit courses, and capstone courses. So thinking about the way that they're related, these are our highest level courses for our students. The first one we'll talk about is AP courses, advanced placement courses. And just so that everyone's clear on what some of the differences are as we go through it, these are considered to be college level courses that are meant to be like the first level freshman year, in most cases freshman year, college introductory course. The curriculum is mandated through the College Board, so to teach an AP course, you have to pretty much follow the curriculum. There is some flexibility within it, so when I taught AP US History, I was able to be flexible in many ways, but there was certain core aspects that you have to follow. Students have the opportunity, if they wish, to take the AP exam, which is always given the first 2 full weeks of May, so we pretty much can predict very much in advance. The College Board did change it several years ago, such that they changed the time frame where students have to sign up. So that's been a little bit different in recent years. And the test measures student mastery of the content. So in order for a student to earn college credit, and it really depends on the school that they go to and the major that they decide to pursue. So some schools will accept AP scores, but if you're in that major, in some cases, they may not. So it's very specific to the school. The College Board has a nice interactive calculator where you can go in and look at different schools, and you can put in if you're on this score on this test, but it doesn't always account for what your major is. So for example, you may have a school where you're majoring in science, or some area of science, may not accept your AP biology score. So I just, certainly I'm not going to read through these, but certainly just wanted to give you a sense of some of the courses that we have that are AP courses. The majority of these courses are open to grades 11, 12, with some open to sophomores as well. So, for example, AP Computer Science is open to sophomores through seniors. Some of the art classes, particularly second semester, could be open to sophomores, but the majority of the courses are open to juniors and seniors.
Gina, can I ask a question real quick on this?
Sure.
I know when I served on the board previously, there was a lot of talk about expanding the number of AP courses. Can you touch on that a little bit? And then could you also talk about how we compare to other districts in DuPage County as far as the number of AP courses that we offer?
So it varies by school. And I would say that's true of both AP and dual credit. On how many, I would say we are comparable to most schools. We have some differences and some nuances here, I would say. For example, we have and I didn't put speech on there because the data I'm going to show you does not include speech, because remember, speech is the first year of this year. So speech was approved last year by the board, and it's a course that's running at both campuses this year. But that's one that is fairly unusual for schools in the area to offer. So we have some courses like that I would say are a little bit different. And then we have some courses that I would say are pretty common in most of the high schools in this area. One difference I would say, and one question I often get from colleagues, is about, for example, AP Computer Science, because the approach that we've taken there is both dual credit and AP at the same time. That is also true of macro and microeconomics at South High School. So we've taken the approach that a course does not have to just be AP or just be dual credit. That's relatively new, although computer science isn't, I should say, only for macro and micro, that they can be both. The advantage...
Oh, there's
sorry.
macro and micro at North too.
There is, but they're not, they're not dual credit courses, they're AP courses.
Okay.
So that's some of the differences.
Okay.
When you say they can be both, you're saying if they take it, they can get credit for either AP or dual?
So a student to get credit for an AP course has to take the AP exam in May.
That's
right? So some students many students will take the exam. And they may, depending on the score, depending on the university that they choose to go to, depending on the major, may or may not earn credit. They may not earn even credit in the area. So it could be a science course, but they might earn like an elective credit, right? So that's dependent on the score that they get on the test. Dual credit is dependent on their grade in the course. So the test reflects 1 day, 1 test, whereas the dual credit reflects the semester or the year, depending on if it's a semester course or a year-long course. Most of our AP are year-long courses. So a student has the opportunity to do it for both. They can still take the AP Computer Science exam, for example, or they can transfer the credit from College of DuPage and get credit that way for dual credit. So the advantage, so to give you an example, one that is close to my heart, is that at Purdue, if you're a science major, they're not going to accept an AP. You have to take their introductory science courses. But if it was dual credit, it could transfer in. So there's a difference.
How are we educating the students on this, and or even educating the counselors? Because I don't know how, I mean, it's very important for them to know, but I don't know how curious I would be about this, knowing what it could do for me long term. You know, not knowing to be this curious now, knowing what it means to me long term. Are we making sure that and I don't know who would deliver this message, the teachers or the counselors, are educating the kids on these kind of things, because there is a very positive long-term effect if they're looking to go to college. And I know that was some of the reasoning a lot of us on the board were very concerned about, having these type of opportunities for our students. So are we ensuring it's here, but are we ensuring that we're giving the education behind the importance of it to our students so that they know how to leverage this the best way they can for their future?
So we've done it over the years several different ways. So we used to have sometimes night programs like our AP Open House. Last year, which was really impressive, I appreciated the way they did it through Resource. So students were already in the building, and they were able to basically go around to the different content areas to find out about AP offerings, as well as information was shared about the advantages of taking an AP or a dual credit course. We have fewer, you'll see in a minute, but we have fewer dual credit courses. Students seem to have, most students, somewhat of an understanding of AP, but to really kind of dig in to see what courses are in each department was, I think, really valuable for students. And to be able to speak to teachers, and to be able, in some cases, speak to other students who've taken the course as well. They also do that talking about so they lay out a four-year plan, so freshmen work on what's called a four-year plan, and they lay out what courses and what opportunities students have in various pathways, and that includes the AP courses. Of course, counselors meet with, which we know, right, meet with students every year to schedule classes, and teachers also do recommendations. So, for example, if you're teaching U.S. history, which is a sophomore course, the U.S. history teachers make recommendations for all of their students, and they meet with their students, and sometimes it's briefly, and sometimes it's more extensive, depending on the questions and whatnot, to kind of share what the opportunities are with those recommendations, which includes AP courses.
Okay.
On the prior slide, it was saying that the macroeconomics and micro is only offered at South, right?
That's for dual credit
But,
and AP credit.
okay.
At North, it is offered for AP credit, but not for dual credit.
Why is that?
So dual credit, so governing AP is the College Board. Governing dual credit is several different bodies, right? There's state law, there's ICCB, which is the College Board, or the Community College Board, excuse me, and the community college. And in order to be qualified, you have to work with your local community college, which in our case is obviously COD, and teachers must meet certain criteria. So it's teacher dependent. So for example, I could teach, and I did, AP US History. I would not be able to teach. With my degrees, I would not be able to teach dual credit. I don't have the college credits, graduate hours beyond a master's degree or a master's degree in the content area to be able to teach that. And so it is challenging to get dual credit because it's based on what degrees and what coursework the teachers have. That is why, you might recall, we, with our current contract, so back in 2020, the contract allows for what is called tuition assistance. Teachers have to apply, there's a whole process for this, but one of the areas, it has to be an area of high need, one of the areas that we identified as an area of high need is coursework or a master's degree that would make a teacher eligible to teach dual credit. So that's where it's different.
Okay.
So we don't have teachers at North that are
In-
able to teach macro and micro with dual credit?
Yes.
Correct.
But like, for example, in speech, which this is our first year, we have one teacher district-wide qualified to teach speech, which is incredible because most degrees, students need to take speech. So this is a huge win for District 99. That teacher travels, meaning teaches it at North, travels across and teaches it at South as well,
And
both
we-
campuses.
And we wouldn't let students from North come over to South to take those dual
We
credit.
would, but it's unlikely. Students
eats up.
typically don't like to do that.
Yeah. And it eats up time in their schedule, right, because they're traveling. So we have done it. There was several years ago where we were able to offer AP Computer Science at South, I believe. And we had one or two students
The travel.
that traveled. But it's rare.
Yeah, I
It's
could
rare.
see that.
And part of it is a lot of our students, in general, not just students who are taking AP classes, right, will take 7 classes. Right, so their day is full. And so to take that time to travel, that eats up part of their schedule.
Just wondering if it was-
So that's part of it.
Okay.
No, that's a great question, thank you. Okay, so AP, because I know I've been trying to explain the difference, so going back to AP. This slide here just talks a little bit about enrollment. I'm not going to read everything to you, but what I tried to outline here is the total number of enrollments. So that's not students, that's students in AP courses. You might have a student who takes 3 AP courses. You might have a student who takes 1 AP course. The percent of our overall enrollment, which you can see has ranged for the last 5 years between 26 and 28%. Then I pulled the unique number, so those are single students who are enrolled in 1 or more AP classes. And as you think about that too, some of the AP courses like AP Lang or AP Lit, AP US History, those are year-long courses. Some courses are semester courses like psychology or macro-micro economics, for example. So this chart is showing how many unique students, and then of those students, how many are taking a test. So just trying to show kind of how the enrollment, but also bringing in the test data a little bit there. The next slide.
So it's been fairly consistent over the last 5
It has
years. And how, even
Bless
if we,
you, bless you.
expand our offerings, it hasn't.
It has been. I mean, when you look at the percent of all enrollment, I think that's where it's key, because our enrollment is going down a little bit. We've seen that.
How does the enrollment for AP classes vary between the 2 high schools?
So the enrollment in AP courses is fairly similar at both schools. We offer the same courses at both schools. We tend to have a little bit slightly higher typically, and I'd have to go through data to give you exact numbers, but typically a little bit higher unique student enrollment percentage-wise, because remember North's a smaller campus, smaller number of students at North than we do at South. But in many cases, the data is fairly similar. So for example, and this was huge, I don't even know if I told you this yet, Hank, but this is huge. So last year, on both ends of town, right, 100% of our students who took the AP Spanish test received a 3, 4, or 5. So we see some of the same kinds of results at both schools. But typically, if you're talking about unique students and looking at percentage based on overall enrollment in our high schools, North tends to be a little bit higher. That make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Thank
So
you.
make sure I explain that. So this slide is obviously about test scores, giving you the percentage. Now, that's the percentage of students that tested, of course, right? So that earned a 3, 4, or 5. Again, some schools will take the credit for 3, some you might have to have a 4 or a 5, some may not take credit. And oftentimes, that's challenging for students because they may not necessarily know what school they're going to attend. Obviously, the second one there is the number of tests that were taken, and then the number of students that tested. We did have some great results this year. I was really impressed by, I already shared about the AP Spanish, obviously, but chemistry district-wide was at 97%. And if I remember correctly, that's up by about over 20%. From the previous year. So we had some great situations where we saw definite increase over the years. Interesting too, I was looking at micro and macro since that was something that we just added in terms of the dual credit, and our scores were better on AP. When you engage in dual credit, sometimes you have to add things, or, well, with AP we can't take out of the curriculum, but you have to add things to the curriculum. And we did not have to add much at all. But I was kind of interested in that and seeing if there would be an impact, and our students did better. So that was great.
So about 1,200 unique AP students, and then about 900 tests. That's
Not all students test, and there's a variety of reasons why they may not. And in some cases, I'm not saying every case, but where we do have that crossover with dual credit, some students may not test because they're earning the dual credit. So that's something that's, other than AP Computer Science, which has been a long time that way, that's something that that we've looked at as well.
Do you know whether colleges, just thinking about that whole thing about colleges looking, that you challenge yourself as much as you could throughout
Yes.
high school, do colleges care if you took the test or not? Or, I mean,
What we've heard over the years from colleges is that they care more about the caliber of the courses, the level of the courses. They care more about students challenging themselves, right, with the most rigorous coursework, than necessarily about the test. So in that sense, it's obviously great for students who may not even take the test.
I will take this opportunity to point out that last year there was a lot of questioning around the schedule change and how that would impact the success of AP test scores, and some that believed that we would see a significant drop in overall performance in our scores. I'll take this opportunity to point out that we did not see that happen.
Actually, an increase from the previous
I would say too, there's a parental financial incentive to having them take the test.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like you didn't come this far to come this far. You're like, if you went through the course, take the
I
test.
think it varies from my personal experience. It varies a little bit, of course, by the subject, but also how the teacher, some really build in the test. And I know some kids, to your point, it's the first semester and you take the test the second semester, or so I think vary. But maybe the test could be a limiting factor for kids even going that route, but despite the benefits.
When you say parental financial,
I'm just saying, like, if the schools do accept it, it's
The payback
free
is
money.
huge.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to say that.
Oh,
because I
sorry.
thought exactly that's what you were saying. What was the purpose of even us wanting, initial board members prior to wanting this to be something that we concentrate on with the cost of college continuously increasing.
Exactly.
I will say another student benefit from a student I know graduated a few years ago, took a lot of AP courses and went to a journalism program and was absolutely thrilled that her freshman year it was all journalism and poetry. And
That's what you enjoy.
Yeah, so it was like she did all that work and was able to really focus on what you want to do.
Or you'll see students that are able to complete in 3 years and get a jump on a master's degree. There's a lot of opportunities.
That's what I'm doing with mine.
Or a double master's.
I'm doing a double major and a master's in 4 years because I graduate with 40 credits just from AP classes.
Awesome.
It's like amazing.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's
It's like awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the kind of stories I think we need to, and I'm sure it's happening. Share within, everything's happening.
Yeah.
Share within the schools because that's very important. And I always concentrate on the cost
Yep.
of it, and I don't ever want that, if we can plan, to be a hindrance for kids who really want that opportunity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And while I always say the disclaimer that it depends on the school, because I don't want people to think it's an automatic.
Absolutely.
Many schools will accept AP credit, absolutely, and we obviously think that's very important. But I just don't want students going in to think it's automatic and it's every school and it's every major.
Yeah, that's
I don't want them to be disappointed if.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying the education of it and
Absolutely.
is extremely important. So the right message is given around this. Correct message, I guess, would be the way to say it.
So this is scores of 4 and 5, because remember I said some schools will only accept a 4 or 5. So same idea, but just focusing on the students who earned a 4 or 5. Obviously, that percentage is going to be lower than the 3, 4, and 5.
But it's still greater than
Still-
the 5-year average.
That's kind of high.
And it's substantially higher.
I only get a 3.
The next, so this slide is one that when I present about AP, I usually don't present about grades. I opted to do it this time because we're talking in this presentation about dual credit as well. And remember when I said we evaluate AP typically by the exam? We evaluate dual credit by the grade. And I was thinking, well, it might be interesting for you to see the grade distribution for AP as well. Also, when I talk about the capstone courses, we'll talk about grades. So that's why I'm sharing this information. So I thought you might find this interesting. One thing I do want to point out, and I did focus on the last, obviously, 5 years. When it says 23, for example, there, it means the 22-23 school year. When it says 22, it means the 21-22. You'll note when you look at grades of F grades, that there are some 0%. That doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't a single student, right? It's just that there's so many grades that, and we round up if it's 0.5 or higher. So for example, 1 year for one of the 1%, it was 27 F grades, but out of 4,413, right? So, but for me to put, it just gets too busy. I've tried it, it's just would be overwhelming. And I wanted to give the 5-year because we typically look at things in 5 years. So as you look at this, you can see obviously our students' grades also are doing very, very well in the AP courses. So I thought you might just find that interesting since we'll talk about grades with the other 2 areas. So moving to dual credit, I talked a little bit about this when I was talking about AP, so I won't focus too much on it, but they're also college level courses that are here in the high school, taught by the high school teacher, same as AP, introductory level coursework. They may also be AP courses, and we have a few that are, and they can also be, it's just a different pathway to college credit. There's, for the courses that we offer that are truly dual credit, our dual credit is with COD, and there is no cost associated with that. We do have a couple of courses that we offer that are dual enrollment, which is different, like our Calculus 3, and some years we've offered astronomy. We even offered 1 year a literature course. Those courses are through 4-year universities, and there is a cost associated with that. But dual credit courses they're through COD, there's no charge.
So just somebody like myself who doesn't know much about dual credit, when you say it's through COD and my child goes to the University of Illinois, what does that mean? And how does that dual credit work? And maybe even for schools outside the state of Illinois.
Oh, absolutely. So the student would take the course with us, and whatever grade they get with us, so let's say the student gets a B, is the grade that they get from COD as well. When the student is finished with the dual credit course, or it could be several, we have students who take, obviously, many of them, they would need to request a transcript, just like if you took a course at, Benedictine or wherever, to be sent to the school that they ultimately go to. So it would be transfer credit. In CTE courses, it can get a little bit fuzzy in terms of whether or not they will accept dual credit. So some of the CTE ones, they may or may not accept, but when we're getting into content area courses, they're typically going to be accepted at most schools, even outside of Illinois.
Okay.
You
So
actually
I'm
build-
getting a grade from COD,
Mhm.
even though I'm
And it's
a
a-
student here at D99.
Right, and it's the same grade.
And you're saying most of those are going to be accepted by major institutions across the country?
Again, the disclaimer is it's not 100%, but many of them are going to be. And it reflects the work that the student did for 18 weeks versus how the student performed on a test.
Would you say, I mean, it seems to me that dual credit in some ways is more powerful than AP.
Much more.
So.
Absolutely.
Yes, but the hurdle is getting the certification from the teachers for dual credit.
Yes, that is the
Yes.
main hurdle. There are some other hurdles, but that is indeed the main hurdle.
Yes.
So I say there are some other hurdles. One of the other hurdles is the time it takes to get a course approved and a teacher approved. So, for example, AP Macro and Microeconomics, I think I worked on for 3 years before we got approved. Speech actually went much faster, and that took maybe a year. Our PE courses, which that's an area where we are fairly unique. There's not too many schools in DuPage County that offer any dual credit PE courses. We have 2. It's personal trainer and personal safety. That took over a year. So it takes a while. The CT courses, which are the courses that are on the left, right? Those, some of those take a long time too, or took a long time, or can take a long time. But they tend to go a little bit faster, and they don't adhere necessarily to the same requirements that are required for the content area. So like the social studies courses, the English, that kind of thing.
Is the time because all the bodies that have to approve, or is there a
It's all the
certain body
bodies, the
that
meetings,
takes a long
it's
time?
talking about textbooks, it's talking about the layout of the course, there's so many things that are considered that it can take, it just takes a long time.
But
And
the-
sometimes things go quicker, like speech did.
Even though that's a newer course and not offered by a lot of schools, isn't there no like?
There
precedent for other
was,
programs at other
there had been
schools?
communication with our teacher in COD prior to even working on that degree that enabled him to be certified. So it was because of our teacher, who is fantastic, and able to bring that opportunity to us. So that's really, sped things up for us.
The biggest limiting factor is
Is-
always staff, and getting the staff approved.
Well, thank you for the work you're doing on that. I mean, I just think this is very important. So thank you for.
How many years have we been offering dual credit?
We have had dual credit for intro to teaching since its inception.
Yeah.
18? I would have to check, I'm sorry.
So-
I want to
time.
say,
Decades?
yes. Some of these are newer, right? So personal trainer, personal safety, maybe 5 years ago. Speech, this is our first year in. The AP Macro and Micro at South.
Keyboarding is new.
Keyboarding is new. AP Computer Science has been at least a decade. Intro to Teaching's been,
Forever.
yeah, forever. Interior Design is 3, maybe
That's
4
since I was
years.
here. Yeah.
Incubator's new, it's a newer course for
Yeah.
us, so it would have
Yeah.
to be. Financial Accounting was one we went back and forth for a long time. And that one is in year 2 or 3. And the architectures are probably 7 or 8 years ago. So we've had some for a long while and some we're still working on.
So one of the goals when I came in as superintendent that Gina and I worked on and brought to the board was expanding this. And Gina has, almost every year since I've been here, added a course or 2 to the list. So it's all Gina's work getting us to where we're at, and it keeps growing. And we keep working with legislators too to try to make it so that it gets, sometimes it is many times, more difficult for us to get our staff approved than it is for the universities to approve their own staff.
And I do appreciate you saying that, Hank, about working on it, but it's our teachers. They're the ones that deserve the credit, not me.
When you're looking at dual credit, do you pay attention to like basic entry-level course requirements at colleges and trying to target some of those classes so that we can test out our kids as they enter as freshmen? You know, I look at the dual credit and there's not a lot of math and science in there. So is that just not an option for dual credit coursework, or is it just a lot more requirements and?
A lot more requirements. So we have struggled for years, particularly in science, to try and get dual credit. I had pushed probably, 8, 10 years ago, to try and get anatomy and physiology, which I don't know if any of your students have taken it, but it is a fantastic course. We have fantastic teachers teaching it. It is definitely, in my opinion, like an introductory college course. And I tried to get some of our teachers, approved and was told basically we needed a medical doctor, so a doctor, to come in and teach the courses. And while that would be great, don't get me wrong, we don't typically have physicians applying to teach our courses. So that didn't work. I do have, however, a teacher at South that is working on a degree that we may be able to get approved, not for anatomy and physiology though, for a different course. And I know we have a couple other teachers that are interested. And what's helped with that has been the tuition assistance, because now people are actually looking for, I want to take courses in the, will make me eligible to teach dual credit because, the district will support that.
They don't even have medical doctors teaching that
Correct.
at college, so I'm thoroughly confused.
That's what Hank is referring to. Well, I shouldn't speak for
No,
him,
you are, you don't need, we've both been speaking around this. To be quite blunt, it is the faculty at the college that has the power to approve whether or not one of our teachers can teach at that college. And there is some past belief of self-interest that that those professors would like to keep those courses taught by their faculty, not ours. And that is why we've had to continue to work collaboratively with College of DuPage, and Dr. Caputo, the president of COD, has been fabulous in helping support us move this forward and to make sure that COD is more support. They're more supportive than they ever have been, but it's still a long way to go to get it so that we can meet the needs of our students. And that's why we have also worked very diligently legislatively to try to make sure that barriers get reduced so that our faculty that many of these universities or work at other universities are sometimes not approved by College of DuPage to be a professor there. So it's just hoops that we've had to jump through for years, and this has been a challenge we've faced with this. We hope that it continues to get better. I know that there's other legislation and rulemaking going on with the Higher Learning Commission that hopefully makes this easier for us, but that has been a point of frustration through all of this. No matter what, dual credit is always a challenge to keep a curriculum going because it is so tied to the staff that you have. You know, it's you get a staff member approved, you get them there teaching it, but then to keep that sustained and moving forward is really difficult because it is so tied to your staff. One key staff member leaves, takes a promotion, like all of a sudden your whole curriculum comes down, where with AP, that isn't the case. So anyways, I'll get off that soapbox.
Okay. One of the other challenges that could impact dual credit enrollment moving forward, which is new to us, is that some of the courses that we have dual credit, specifically with the macro and microeconomics and speech, starting this year, we were notified, I believe on July 11th, that's a date that sticks with me obviously, that our students had to meet a particular reading requirement. And while I can certainly understand that, our students sign up for classes in January, sometimes into the first week of February. And so not knowing that at the time was a challenge. And so many of our students did meet that requirement, don't misunderstand me. Many of our students did, but not all students have, and then there's an alternate pathway. And so we're working through, and our teachers have been fabulous with that in terms of working with individual students and parents to try and make sure they can still take the course. But one of the other challenges, and this is the reason I'm pointing it out, is that sometimes there are things put into place, from my perspective, later than our students are aware of when they're signing up for the course. That can be a struggle. We also have some courses, like interior design, that some students in the class will take it for dual credit and some will take it for just high school credit. So we've been even looking at models like that.
I guess my last thought on this is regarding college enrollment. I think at some point we said it was down, period.
Yes.
I guess the argument could be, you're getting an opportunity to give a student, to come to college that may not. This could be the difference of them coming for 2 years or 3 years or no years.
No, all the research, Sherelle, definitively points to students that take AP or especially dual credit at high school go on to take more college courses, are more successful in them, and stay in college longer as a result of it. There is absolutely, all the evidence points to that colleges that partner with high schools to offer a larger breadth of dual credit end up winning in the end, because they're going to get more kids that take more courses. But it's getting some of the faculty to understand that that's the reality. When, some people are just afraid of keeping their jobs, which you get to, but when we're looking at it through the lens of what's best for kids, that's a spot where sometimes we clash.
So I know I spoke of most of this, so I'm not going to read it to you. But these are just some of the differences, to try and understand the difference between AP and dual credit. Although in Gianna's case, I'm not sure, since you're working on multiple degrees, that it's necessarily, it is saving you still college tuition, for sure.
Around 77 grand.
Yeah, saving you a lot of money. But in some cases, it might just open up opportunities for students to take a minor or a double major, those kinds of things. And I talk about the regulated and eligibility as well. So dual credit enrollment, just wanted to share some information with you. Again, total enrollments, unique students, and then the percentage. And you can see where we're landing in terms of the 5-year average as well. Since, as I said earlier, dual credit success is evaluated by grades. Wanted to share the grades with you so that you could see how well our students are doing. Obviously, when we look at it's really all of the grades, but particularly the Fs, you'll see like a 0%. We did have, a few students who did fail, but it wasn't enough to push us to 1%. But you'll see that our students, in terms of A's and B's, are doing fantastic. And a lot of these courses particularly are of interest to the students. They're interested in the coursework, so they're taking courses they're interested in. So that makes sense. And again, most of the courses for dual credit, not all, but most of them are also, like the AP, more at the junior and senior level. Wanted to talk a little bit about capstone courses, which are different than the other two. Capstone courses are the highest level of course in a particular pathway. It's focused in a particular content area, so like the highest courses in, could be an AP course. It could be, if it's in CT, it could be incubator or accelerator. It could be a dual credit course. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but it could be. So you're going to see a lot of overlap between those. As you can see, we have a lot of them. And these are defined by us. So when I talk about capstone, right, AP, we're talking College Boards, basically has a curriculum, requirements, that kind of a thing. Dual credit, we're working with COD, they have requirements, our teachers have. Capstone is what we determine are the highest level pathway courses that we offer here in District 99. Okay?
Now, what can you do with these? I'm sorry.
This is just showing you the number of students that make it to that highest level of a pathway.
So again, just same layout as before, total enrollment, unique students, and percent of students enrolled in a capstone course. So these are students who've, again, gone through multiple courses in a pathway. And then grades. And you'll see obviously very similar layout to what we just saw with dual credit, where students are obviously being successful in these courses. When we look at, the grades A through C, we're looking at about 95. Depends on the year, obviously, but we're looking at students being successful in these highest level courses. Questions?
You probably asked enough.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. I think we did it.
Appreciate all the work you put into that. That's fantastic.
I'm proud of our students.
Yes.
And our teachers.
Yeah.
I'm proud of the administrative staff and specifically Gina, who puts in the amount of work that this has a real impact on our students and parents and their financial portfolio. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
We have a real live example.
We do, and that's fantastic. No, honestly, I am so glad that you shared that with us.
Thank you.
I appreciate
So
it.
share with us what your plan is.
So I would do a double major. I want to go to American University because it's the only school that has both of these majors actually. So the first one is called Data Science and Justice Law and Criminology. So it looks at crime from a more statistical standpoint, and it can pinpoint like what's working and what's not using like statistics, which I think is super cool. And then the other one is called CLEG. So it's Communications, Legal Institutions, Economics, and Government. So I'd be doing a double major in those two and a master's in Data and Justice and Law. And then maybe I'll get, and then my plan is to get my PhD from American too. So that'll be good. So
That's good
Come
that
back
you're,
and teach some dual credit classes.
yeah, exactly. There we go. I'll have all the credits ready to go.
but no, I think that's really a good plan to get all of the things at the same university.
Exactly.
Because I noticed when my daughter transferred from one university to another, it was a little hazy because they wanted their share.
Oh yeah, and American pays you
in it.
$5,400 a month to be a PhD student there. So it's like
Yeah.
Nice. Does what now?
pays me $5,400 a month to be a PhD student there.
Cool.
Yeah, no brainer. So,
Yeah. So that's a really good thing. So,
So current plan.
yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's impressive.
All right, the next one is my planned leadership events for the school year, just to get it out there for the board, especially because one of the areas that the board highlighted that they'd like for me to focus on is being an advocate for educational innovation, both locally and nationally. So there's a blend of local leadership and national leadership opportunities in there that I'll be proposing to participate in. Many of the events I'm attending at no cost because I'm either helping to plan them, lead them, or present at them. And I think this is a pretty good portfolio of experiences for me to represent District 99 at this year.
Yeah, a lot of those look really cool.
Yeah.
So I'll be glad, I'd like to hear when you go and come
Yeah,
back.
I'll report back as I
Yeah,
come back.
Just because they look like some really cool opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really nice to get our name associated with some of those events. So, thank you,
And I'm
thank you.
co-presenting with Google in the spring, so that's kind of nice to be with a big name company like
Yeah.
that, so.
Well, you've been associated with Google for a while now,
Yes,
so.
yes.
so that's
I brought
really-
Google into K-12 schools, so
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
long-term connection with them.
So that's good.
That's really nice.
When we hired Hank as superintendent, it really came down to two candidates. And I remember.
Wishes he would have hired the other one.
I remember being a strong advocate for Hank because I viewed him as a superintendent that could push innovation in D99. And I think some of those opportunities that Hank otherwise would have had we had regular and routine administration of a school district, kind of got lost over the last several years. And I was really happy to see when we set our goals for the superintendent and the administrative staff this year, that we really talked about pushing Hank in bringing new ideas to D99. And I think it's important that we support him as he brings these opportunities to travel, to engage, to have conversations with other leaders, not just here locally, but across the country, and bring those ideas back and try and implement those ideas here at D99. So I think we want to give him license and those opportunities to try and really expand educational opportunities at D99. So when Hank and I were talking about this, we brought it to the board because we wanted to get all of your input as far as cost associated with travel and lodging and registration at some of these events. I just want to make certain that the board is behind expending those type of expenses to support Hank's endeavors in expanding his knowledge base. So I'm a big advocate for that because I think that's why we hired him. And I think, I'm really a strong supporter and proponent of getting him out there and getting him those opportunities.
I'm all good with it. I like the idea of not just fraternizing, if that's the right word for this, with locally. I like the opportunity to see Hank go and, talk with superintendents across the country.
Exactly.
The one in there that is the most expensive is the Suburban Superintendent's Conference. That one, returning board members know that is a pretty exclusive organization. It's 125 of the top suburban superintendents in the country. You only are in that if you're nominated by 2 current members. So it's a pretty high bar to get in, and then by being in there, to remain part of that group, you need to attend 2 out of every 3 conferences. So this one's a little pricier. It is in California. I don't pick where they're at. It's obviously where the organization picks where they're at. But it is one where I learn the most from over there. It's all schools with similar demographics to ours that are all just pushing the envelope and are really leading the way. I learned more in those 3 or 4 days, professionally than probably the other events maybe combined, just because there's so many like-minded school districts there. But that one it's an expensive one this year. It's as much as the other ones I think put together. It's one that I went back and forth with Don on, and in the end we decided to bring it forward to the board as a request and recommendation to go to that one. But I don't want anybody to be surprised by the cost of that one. I've tried to offset it by selecting it with some that are no cost or are reduced cost because I'm, like I said, presenting or leading. So I've tried to be responsible in that way.
That's very good, very good.
I think too, just from a corporate perspective, this is not unlike corporations that have not done training or travel for the past few years. And we're saying even in our times that a lot of ministries are going through right now, that we got to invest in our people, we got to keep our organization moving forward. So I think, given your role at the head of our organization, it is important. So.
And to apply that to corporate, one of the things and one of the reports that we do at work says that people will leave in corporate if they don't feel like they're getting the learning and development.
That's right. Exactly right.
They need. So of course that applies to, industry, all industries. I think people have the same mindset. Not that you're going anywhere, but.
I hope not.
No.
Yeah, we've invested too much.
All right. All right, that's it for that one, unless there's any other questions. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Travis for the next one.
So for the 13 of you that were at the Opening Day Institute, I apologize because this is going to be a lot of the same information, but it's really important information. And as a side note, talking about AP and dual credit, and I love, there's so many layers to all of that, right? And dual credit has been a real challenge for high schools. About 15 years ago is when they made really the change that you have to have your master's degree in the content area or 18 credits if you have a master's degree in that area, and that it's handcuffed a lot of schools. You're seeing, though, I think a lot of the community colleges where they're looking at it and saying, man, these other schools are doing it, we better start being more working with our area schools. So it's a great opportunity for our students. So talking specifically about safety, this is a all hands on deck type of an approach that we have really worked on in this district long before I came 2 months ago. But it is something that is really a top priority for our district, and something that I am looking at all of the different pieces that we're doing related to safety. So another thing that we've been really trying to do is focusing on our core values. So really this hits on that we care, we prepare, and we evolve. So those are the main lenses, if you will, as we're looking at our safety plans, as we're looking at the different things that we're doing with our students and our staff that we're really focused on. Over this summer, I read it's called a pen test. It was done in May of 2022, and what that did was it tested both our physical security and our virtual security. So we had a third party come in and test and see how secure, both physically and virtually, is our district. So you're going to hear me reference some things that we've specifically put in place as a result of hearing the feedback from that test. And that is something, it gives us, if you will, kind of the best practices that we should be looking at. So one of the things that we've been really focused on is evacuation and reunification, especially at the beginning of this school year. So it's important that we understand the difference, because sometimes they get confused a little bit. So when you think about evacuation, you're leaving, right? So the evacuation component is what you're typically used to, where you're leaving a premise. Okay? It doesn't mean that you leave the grounds, but it does mean that you leave, if you will, an area, maybe the building. That is an important distinction as compared to reunification. When you think about reunification, that's where you're reunifying individuals, right? So when we talk about that, we're reunifying families with their loved ones, okay? And it's important that we do both really well, and that we understand those different components. So when you think about evacuation, that's Alice. We are an Alice district. All of our staff, I'm going to talk about that here in a minute, but that's what we do for a severe incident, a critical incident. And then I Love You Guys Foundation has been implemented countywide. So all of DuPage County, all of the schools in DuPage County are implementing I Love You Guys, which gives you a standard protocol for reunification, which is huge with our first responders, because they understand and they know what it is that we're doing with that. So throughout all of this different lenses, if you will, when we talk about physical security, when we look at our reunification with I Love You Guys, it gives us all of the protocols, it gives us all of the documents that need to be filled out, all of those things. We need to look at it through the lens of how do we make that work here at District 99. So one of the things that we have been doing a lot related to this is working with our first responders. So I can tell you, Bill Buds with our police department, he has been phenomenal. He's come to almost every safety meeting that we've had. Tom Frank is a deputy chief with our fire department. He's been great in coming, and their insight has been invaluable to give us that perspective, right, from a first responder lens. And so it's been really good. I want you to know that we're working not just internally, we're looking and saying, okay, what are best practices that you're seeing? What are areas that we need to focus on? And that is a really, really important thing as we look at what we do. One of the things that we are focused on as well this year is our tabletop exercises. So if you want to think about a tabletop, we just actually had our first of 8 tabletops that we have planned this year. We're planning on doing 4 at each building. So we had our first tabletop at South, and we present scenarios. We stress test, if you will, our plan. The individuals that are around the table, how would we respond to this? Here's a new part of the scenario. Now with this information, what would we do next? And our representatives from our police department as well as our fire department were there, and they've been invited to all of them. Again, they're observing, they're giving feedback. We did at the end, it's called a hot wash, where we go through and say, okay, what does that look like? How did we do? What are areas that we need to improve on? What are things that we need to further develop in our plan? So we have, again, 4 of those planned at each of the buildings, which is, again, you want to talk about some unique things. I don't know of many districts that are focusing and putting the resources and the time to having those specific events. So I'm really proud that we're doing that. So I want to talk about virtual safety, some best practices. A recent study that was released recently is that 80% of schools have suffered some type of ransomware attack. 80% of schools, so that's a lot. So we need to do our due diligence here. And so these next 2 best practices arose from that pen test that I mentioned just a little bit ago. And that is when you leave your computer. So again, all of this is really good for our personal use as well, not just, as you're going through, if you're working in a place of business, but hitting the window and L key at the same time locks the computer. So if you're ever leaving your computer, you shouldn't just leave it open and walk away, right? Because then people have access to that. So getting in the habit of simply hitting those 2 buttons and walking away. Now when you come back, you have to log back in, but most of the time, computers time out anyway, so you'd have to log back in. But that is an easy thing that can detract a lot of potential issues. Second thing is make sure your passwords are secure. Having Post-it notes of passwords is not a good way of going about, especially if you put your username and your password in the same location, right? I've had conversations with my parents. They have a notebook, right, that has all of their username and passwords in it. And if someone just gets a hold of that, they have everything, right? So it's really important keeping that secure. And so we talked with the staff about not having Post-it notes. If you need to write it down, we have locked filing cabinets and drawers. Make sure and put it in there and it's locked and secure and put away. So I would recommend that as well. The third best practice is to make an annual password change. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight at the end of our board meeting, is assisting you in making a password change. One of the criteria that we have in our district is that it's 12 characters long. There's no special characters. There's nothing along those lines, but it needs to be at least 12 characters long. It is an important part of what we should be doing, but I think why so many people write them down is because they make it so hard, and then they can't remember, was that a capital D followed by a dash, right? So it can still be complicated, and you can go through that, but phrases is a really good thing to use as a password. I know I use first letters of a phrase often that will have something that goes through. I'm not going to say what they are, but it would use the first initial. So that if
what was that again?
So that if someone were to look at your password, they'd go, "What in the world is that?" Right? It makes sense to me because as I'm typing the letters or numbers, I'm saying it in my mind, and then I remember it as I go through that process. So that's a really important thing. So we already sent staff actually on the day of the First Institute directions on how to change their password, right, so that they could engage in that best practice. Lastly is to be diligent with what you click on with emails, right? So you've all heard of individuals that were scammed and they went through different aspects. And this applies to you as well as you have a District 99 account. It's the #1 way that ransomware gets in. So if you notice in your email bar, there's a fish hook that is up in that upper left-hand corner. And if you click on that, then that will send a message to our tech team saying, hey, this looks fishy. Okay, so then our tech team will look at it, and if it's something that's bigger, they can address that with everyone on staff. But that is something that you can do. You can always delete the email as well, right? So don't, if you're going, I'm not sure about this. My stance is if it's important enough, they're gonna email me back, right? If it doesn't seem right, I'll delete it. If it comes back again, I might hit the fish hook as I go through if it just doesn't seem right. Also related to our virtual safety, we have a cyber event tabletop that we have planned on October 6th. And we have our entire executive council that's going to be engaged in a 4-hour tabletop related to a cyber event, right? So we're going to go through that and test our systems that we have in place to make sure that we have the appropriate things put in place to handle such an event. Talking about physical, you'll notice, right, we have the lanyards on, and this is a way to distinguish staff members. So we handed all of these out at the beginning of the year, and all of our staff members are wearing the common lanyard. There's a reason for that, just like a change word or a password change. Refreshing that, this gives us an easy way to identify staff. We haven't had this before, and as you notice, it has the core values around it. So that is one way that we can easily identify if someone is a staff member. We also have visitor passes, right? But if we notice someone doesn't have on this lanyard, we've talked to staff about going up and just saying, hey, can I help you, right? Don't assume that because someone's in the building that they should be there. So as we go through, give them a reason, hey, can I help you, right? Don't assume that they're someone bad and going through, but it gives us a great opportunity to engage with someone and be able to help in that way. I'm going to move on to physical safety best practices. So there are 5 that we shared with staff. The next 3, again, are related to the 2022 Penn test. The first is something that was put in place last year, and that's just the continuation of locking classroom doors when instruction is going on during the school day. It's a best practice that we are making sure that we follow. Also, make sure that exterior doors are closed at all times. The main thing here is don't prop our exterior doors, right? So that is something that we talked with staff and reinforced. And the third is to keep your keys, your ID, and your access card secure at all times. So if I were to leave this in my office hanging up, you might look and say, oh, that's not a big deal. It has an access card on it. If someone has access to that, they can get into the buildings, right? So it's important that you keep that with you. And we talked with the staff about not giving your keys to kids for any reason. And because of that conversation, we've had some different ways that we're approaching different things, such as PE classes, as we're going through. So I'm proud of our staff for thinking, okay, what does that look like then? If that's not a best practice, how can we work in other ways for that? Another thing is to keep the windows to classrooms free and clear so that individuals can see into those. It's another safety measure. And finally, don't let others into the building as you're entering or leaving. So there's tailgating. So we talked with the staff about if you're going into a location and someone is behind you and they don't have a lanyard, they don't have that, direct them to where the visitor's entrance is, right? Don't let someone in that doesn't have the correct credentials into it. It can be awkward. It can be tough, right? Where you're going, I'm sorry, but you can't come in this way, but let me show you where you can, right? So that's the key to that, not just saying, or just smiling as you close the door, right? It's helping them as you can go through that, but that's an important thing. And likewise, as you're leaving, making sure that the door is shut before you leave that area because someone else could sneak in with that. So the final thing I'm going to talk with you about is just our threat assessment and the processes that we have in place. So we have our building level teams meet once a week to talk about any types of concerns with students. So if we're looking at anything that comes up, we think that the student either might have some self-harm issues, might harm others, anything along those lines. There's teams in each of our buildings that meet on a regular basis and discuss those. We have a threat assessment team that has protocols in place. Legislation in the last couple of years, you have to have a threat assessment process in place, and we have that. And that is really to make sure that we intervene in case there's a potential issue with a student. And we also have at our ASC, we have monthly meetings that we go through. We actually just had our first meeting, was it yesterday? Last week.
Yeah, last week.
Last week. So yesterday would not
No,
have been
we didn't
possible.
get together yet. I wasn't there yesterday.
No, one weren't there. So that is something that it's important that you understand as well. There are teams of individuals that care about kids, that we're talking about them more than just the academic component, right? We're looking and saying, how are they doing? What are there other supports that we need to put into place for them? One of the big things with threat assessments is if you see something, say something. So you've heard this probably in the news, right? If you see something, don't assume someone else is going to say something. Make sure and do that. So on our website, again, giving you another visual, this is on the top of all of our websites. You see the bubble over there to the left. When you click on that, it takes you to our District 99 Crisis Reporting and Resources site. So it has different things in there about if you're worried about this, here's what you can do. One of the things, Safe to Help Illinois, it's a whole Illinois initiative that is shared on this website. It is also on the back of all of our student IDs. Again, that is a legislative change that came down last year. So all of that is on the back side of there. That is available to anyone, right? It's not just in schools, anything along those lines. It's available across the entire state, and that is an important resource if there's ever any concerns. So all that being said, still the number one thing that research says that is important is relationships. So we're really focusing on being intentional with relationships. I'm a huge believer in knowing others and being known, right? So if you're in community, you're more likely to care about those that you're in community with, right? So we want that for every student, every staff member. So we talked with the staff about that as well. We have all of these things in place. The best thing we can do still, though, is have good, solid relationships where people know that they're cared for. And I have definitely seen that in my time here, and I'm proud of all the work that we're working on, but specifically on the relationship side. So I just covered a lot of information related to a lot of different things. Do you guys have any questions?
One thing you talked about, best practices. Where do metal detectors being installed at the entrance of each building come in line? And is that a best practice in your idea?
So
Hank,
since
what is
Travis
your
is new,
thought?
I'll speak to that.
What
So
is your thought about that? I know it's become a big issue, especially like in Highland Park and different suburban districts. Where do we stand on that?
yeah, it's, I mean, it seems like when people look at like shootings in schools or whatever, that's a natural thing to react and go to. But the actual carrying out and staffing that and managing that is really an intense use of resources, not just the equipment to put there. That's the small part. It's having multiple people there at all times to go through that. And when you have a rush of students, you know, we have 2,000 students or more that arrive within a 20-minute period of time each day. Now you take all of those students and stack them outside of the building, waiting in queues to get in while you scan everybody to come in. At the same time, if you look at the incidents that we've seen out there in the world, very few of them are coming through a secured entrance and gaining access. It's somebody lets them in, or they force their way into a location, or they're sitting outside of a building waiting for somebody. In those cases, metal detectors wouldn't be a prevention or a deterrent in any of those things. We think it's far more important to secure in the ways in which Travis outlined, rely on relationships, rely on supporting students that have demonstrated that there's concerns there, and that's where our resources are best spent.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay.
You lose something again, my personal opinion, you lose something in that culture of relationships as well, right? So I think it's important we focus on all of those things. We do those things well. I don't think that it's a need.
I think it would be really great if society and government would step up and take some of the responsibility for this so that schools wouldn't have to have all of it. And that shouldn't be a controversial thing to say.
I think one of the most important things is if you see something, say something. I think that really gets down to the crux of the matter is, it can head off a lot of problems. So I think those are great steps.
But for example, a gun in a kid's backpack, he's coming into school with a gun in his backpack. How is that going to be alleviated? What are we going to do to alleviate that as a threat to all the students that are in the class with him? Or can we?
I think, though,
I mean,
that student that I think there's other students that maybe have related with that student and know that there's a situation, and it comes back to if you see something or hear something, you tell someone about that situation, because that student maybe has a lot of other situations that are happening in his life, or her life. So
And Terry, you're right. That's what it comes down to is when we've had those situations and we learn about them, it is from other students that are bringing it forward.
Cool.
And I think that's truly the important thing, that students understand it's okay to talk to other people about situations that could be.
And if they're uncomfortable, that's why the tools like Safe to Help are there that allow them to bring it forward without, fear of something happening to them.
I'm sorry, Hank, I didn't.
No, that's all right, Terry. It's the right answer. You know the answer. Any other questions for Travis? I think this is, every year in the spring or in the fall here, we bring some of these updates to the board. Obviously, we can't disclose to the public all of our safety plans because then it's easier to get around those safety procedures.
Safety then.
Yeah. But I also think this is a good opportunity for the board and the public to see the importance of Travis's role in somebody that's overseeing the facilities, our technology, and our security as those things become more and more intertwined moving forward. That, as this board and this district continue to innovate, having somebody that has oversight of all of those things helps make us safer. Just because, Travis has his eye on all of those things at one time, and with an instructional background, understanding how those things connect back into teaching and learning. So you'll hear a lot more about the stuff that we're doing, but we're really leading the way here in these things. All right.
Julie, do we have any reception visitors?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, then can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
No,
Passwords.
we need to reset passwords and then we can adjourn. We have to do that in open session.
Okay.
Oh.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
I like my password. Yes.
I guess you could adjourn, but then good luck getting your help with your
We'll be back
password.
next week.
Yeah, because we can't get in.
Exactly.
Within a year, I've changed mine within a year.
But now we have to set up two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication.
I work. He changed.
So we're going to do that, and then once we're done, everybody's set with passwords, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
So we're done with the business of the meeting. I'm sure nobody wants to sit around and watch board members change passwords.
That's why I brought all my devices.
But we've brought in Matt, our team expert, that's going to help you with this process.
Are we going to just go in a mass? Oh, I wanted to ask you, Courtney.
Can I?
Oh, okay.
I know I need help.
That's all good. I'll help you.
Yeah.
Either way,
transparent, but puts the cost.
They did it, Terry, they did it in like January or February at North last year. For like a winter thing.
We haven't talked about it yet, so it's not on my radar because it's such a big.
So, no, I don't even know my password.
This will help us change our, everyone's password will be.
It was my first year, so good point.
Chocolate chip.
Yeah.
And open up your Chromebook.
Hey, it's more than 10 characters. Yummy chocolate chip. 22.
Yeah. On a photo on this. Do you want to do two at a time?
Some are with nuts, some are without nuts.
Oh,
Yeah.
really
This
good.
is so great of you.
I've never used this
Share that.
before.
So eat every 8 ounce man. I'll get it.
Okay, all right, cool. Cool.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, there we go.
Got a lot of credit.
Yeah. In America,
72.8. I would like to go there. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, everything helps.
No, yeah, we haven't started our process yet. You're all good.
Money is money.
I will make sure you're gonna email.
Okay. Have some cookie before you leave.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Your cookies are very good.
Like it's about like trying to get fancy with like,
Yes. Okay, now what do I need to do?
Hey, let's go.
Bug you.
What's up?
She wants to write down your password.
Yeah, I want to write
Tell me how to begin
2023.
the process. I will turn on my device.
Homecoming parade. Will you be participating, i.e. riding in a car, waving and throwing candy that we provide?
You already logged
No.
No, for either both of those.
Yeah, unfortunately not this year.
Okay.
I'll plan for it next
Oh,
year.
he's got it.
And then the open house for North High changed to
Yeah, it's a
October
Saturday.
21st
Saturday.
from 9 to 12 a.m. So I didn't know if that made you available to do it, because they also changed to 9 to 12 instead of 12 to 3.
But they're both on Saturday, right?
No, one is on Sunday. South is on Sunday from noon to 3, and North is now on Saturday from 9 to 12.
Oh, wow. Wasn't South? Okay, let me see
My
that
kids want to
again.
do it, so we're going to do it. It's
here.
5K, right?
North is, I'm sorry, open house is right here. Because you had said you could do
Right,
the South
okay,
Sunday
okay.
one, but
Yep,
then I wasn't
got it.
sure because
Yep.
North completely changed.
No, I'm fine. I'm perfect. I'm good. I'm on it.
So you could do both now?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you
I can
were
do
working,
both.
so I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
no, I got it. Definitely.
So that's kind of like a double check since
Yeah,
we changed the
thank
date
you.
and time.
Impressive.
Thank
I was
you.
down there watching both them and my son run.
All right, what do I do? Put mine in?
The finish had like a route
Put my
where you should
password
see the
in? I
run.
mean, my email in?
Because you're standing more towards the finish, out of this tree area, and then you saw like 3 downers purple all together like in the top.
Were they in Peoria last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then literally,
Peoria this week.
yeah, they do a
Where are you
weird.
going for this?
I mean, there was definitely a lot of.
No, where I'm just following him.
Are you going to Peoria this week?
You can choose which one. But man, it was so crazy. Like they had 6 runners in front of me.
Pumpkin Festival.
And I was,
I can't
he was the
remember.
number 2. Yeah, it's unreal.
I don't even know where that is.
And they're amazing.
I didn't either.
I saw
He
them last
found
week,
it.
or 2 weekends ago.
Our girls this weekend.
Do it on our phone.
Prospect. And not that student in high school. Is ranked number 2.
No, but yeah, I would say too. I mean, my kids
Yeah,
don't
the
like it
girls
if I
were out
come
at
and
LT
meet
Invite
with
like
it.
on
Each of-
Labor Day
each of
weekend,
my
so we got to see
children
them, and
benefited from
they were
like
they were
20
dominant
credits
too.
of that.
That way make sure everything's working. That's
Yeah.
reason to bring all your devices,
Yeah.
just to make sure everything
Yeah.
logs in and everything
Yeah.
works well.
Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah.
It was definitely impressive.
I'm already signed in, so I don't really know.
What?
I don't know how to sign out.
I don't even know how to sign. I mean, I
know
got
how
my
to sign
password
in.
and stuff. I don't ever use it. Except when they, like I have
don't know, I
Google
love
on
it.
my iPad. Every once in a while
My
it
wife
kicks me
loves
out. And I have to, yeah. Then I have to go around and find it.
Right.
And that's the only time I ever deal with. That's why I don't log in here because,
Real fast.
Yeah, now you're speaking about
I mean, yeah, because I'm just
One
paying
more thing
attention.
to
Right,
forget.
You know,
right.
it just takes.
And
a
if
while.
anything like with this,
So-
I prefer to rent it. You know,
Yeah.
than like
Scott, are you going to
highlight
Peoria
stuff
this
as we
weekend?
go
I was there
along.
last weekend.
Oh, because I'm going this weekend.
Oh, are you?
Because it's the Morton Pumpkin
No
Festival.
problem. Oh.
You know, because that's the pumpkin capital of the world.
Oh, is it? I
Is
didn't know
Morton,
that.
Illinois.
Really?
All of the Libby's cans.
Yeah.
In Morton, Illinois.
People are watching.
Yeah, you can go and watch them put the pumpkins in the.
Oh my god, I gotta remember this. So is it always the like?
It's
third
always the
weekend of
second
this?
weekend.
Or second?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and it's a
Here?
huge festival with a parade
awesome.
and Libby's.
Is it
gives out-
right in Peoria? Like right downtown?
No, it's in Morton.
Or
It's in Morton.
Is Morton right outside of Peoria?
Yeah, it's on 74,
Oh, you got one.
just before you get to Peoria.
I don't know how to sign out.
Okay.
You know, if
Do
you
you-
go down 55. just-
Where are you staying down there?
Yeah, my daughter lives in Morton. And I grew up.
How far is Morton from Washington? Do you know?
Oh, they're just right next door,
Because we
really.
stayed in this amazing hotel when we were down there for a soccer.
Oh, yeah?
And it's right downtown on the little circle area.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was like probably like maybe 12 rooms maybe.
Yeah.
But not expensive.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, it wasn't too expensive, but I mean, the room we had was like it was
Sweet, probably.
It was like from
If
here to
anyone
where
cares,
the halls
Aaron
are
Rodgers
out there.
already got hurt and is out.
And it had a kitchen,
The game. The game. Aaron Rodgers.
And we were there for a soccer tournament at Eureka College.
Yes. That
And it
suits
just was
anyone.
like.
Home of Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Took some pictures of his banner up there and everything.
Thank you.
Wait, did you make cookies?
Yes.
Happy birthday.
They're
Happy
delicious.
birthday, Carrie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so now I.
There's several different kinds there.
How do you turn it on?
Well, look, everything you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Camera rolling too. I'm gonna click the
No, it's not. Oh, wow.
Julie, how do you turn it on?
What do you, Ted?
Okay. You gotta tell me what to do because I know nothing.
You know nothing?
I know nothing.
No, it's a thing. I won't be able to do more.
Colonel, please.
And then hit manager account.
I'm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
so now
Show
you
you
sign in next year.
Love it.
I loved Hogan's Heroes.
It was awesome,
honestly,
right?
it was one of the best shows.
But I haven't made one
Because you
yet.
always wanted to see the
I gotta,
Nazis,
that's what I.
you know, doing bad, stupid stuff.
Otherwise, it becomes a board.
Definitely wanted to look and see.
Travis is doing a tutorial right now.
We scattered you guys throughout the year.
I thought Julie said we could do it at any one, if that's not the case.
Yeah, but you know what I did? I erased my old password.
We broke everybody out.
Got it, okay.
Oh, do they want me to put it in the one you gave me, the reset?
Yeah, once we get to 3, it becomes a board meeting. and
Okay,
then we
I
have
might
to-
reset my password.
No, you're good.
So, is it in the?
It's in the cafeteria.
Okay.
Just resynced everything.
So my new one is in here?
Yeah, so the one you just did is good.
I'm all set?
And then we have one more thing to do, one more step.
Matt, what's the group name? Isn't it B?
Okay.
I'll be surprised if we have. So they are.
How many?
So go to.
Found no recommendation.
How did the registration go? Yes, you do.
And then there
Two
it
have
is.
said that they're
And they just started.
attending at some point
There
over
we
the
go.
year, and 11 said that they'll be there.
Ken, did you keep my shirts in your car?
If you lose your phone,
The
the
what?
backup option is asking for another
I
phone
forgot
for
about it, sitting at home.
If you wanted to add something else, if you wanted to add
Stop
another
the
one,
Norfolk
you
Southern?
No.
could add another one, and you could just hit.
I guess I'll run by whenever.
Have another one.
Well, I'll bring it, or I'll bring it by, I just
Okay.
forgot.
Okay, so go ahead and
No,
put
she
your
She
email.
asked me about
Oh, yeah, put that in.
Email in. It's gonna be your CSD one, so it should be.
Oh, shoot. My CSD email.
It should be K.
I guess I needed
Okay.
instructions.
Yeah, you're in a perfect spot.
Where do I?
And then that's good, just hit that.
I see that on my phone, but I don't see it on.
At what now?
If you go back, it's already there.
Oh,
So just
wow.
click on this.
Oh, wow.
The hit
I think you have to sign in first.
Oh, with my current password?
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you change
Are
it?
you good? Are you changed?
I know nothing.
Yeah,
You
just
know
sign in
nothing.
with
Oh,
your
okay.
current password.
Yours did it.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's gonna
I'm not
Let me
looking.
get the
I'm eating
instructions, we'll
cookies.
see.
Then you should be good, right?
See where I need to start?
Right here.
You're creating your own.
And what did you suggest?
12 characters, just make it a phrase.
Oh, wow.
Whatever,
That's what they're
whatever,
seeing me do.
whatever phrase it
Maybe
you
eight.
would like.
If you have Gmail on your phone.
Okay.
Have that do some type of thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and you got both your tablets with you?
Yes.
Excellent.
So,
I think Travis is ready to start with you. Yep, Travis is ready to start with
okay,
you.
all right. This
It actually is. I have nothing against it.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine. You just.
watched the Hard Knocks stuff?
Yeah, well, I didn't watch
It's been
this
really
year.
good this year.
I watched the Detroit one.
It actually made me like him.
Oh, really?
I hated him, and now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's actually a pretty good guy.
Okay, so.
All right. So open up Chrome.
I usually go here.
No, that's just sign into.
Board docs. Okay.
Let's see. What it says. Let's go to Google Docs.
At the top.
There we go.
Scroll the bottom.
Oh, to the J.
Okay. My original one.
How many you said, 12?
Oh, I was gonna say I could put in my old one. You snuck in there and changed it, and I didn't even know. Oh, that's why I didn't even know it. Okay.
All right, and then we're gonna go to security.
No, sir. Oh, we still need to adjourn. So
Don't leave yet.
I'm waiting
I
for all
know.
these people to get their passwords changed.
Pretty much so.
Hurry up, people.
I'm trying.
I just started.
Put in your new one and then.
My new one.
Oh,
one.
you already did
Characters.
it?
Or just the number?
Just the
number. President Winter's left the meeting at, this time at 8:30.
All right, next.
Yep, get started.
But I won't.
Turn on. Did it do turn on?
Now you gotta enter your regular password in right now.
Policies
Am I
for
done?
first reading.
That's all we need.
So Terry's covering for me tomorrow night for community session.
Yes.
Can you send me what date she was otherwise scheduled so that I can switch and cover for her?
Sure.
Do is we're gonna go over here.
Okay, so that's
There you
right.
go, yep.
All right.
Type in your phone number,
Thank you.
your cell phone
Use
number.
your phone.
Awesome, thank you.
My real phone.
It wasn't that bad, right? A little painless. Better than
They didn't match.
Better than going to the dentist, right?
This side of the room is doing their job over here.
Put the other
We're
one.
working.
We're working.
let you know.
We're working.
Oh, because I can't go home today. There we go.
You can do those wonderful cookies that.
Yeah, I already had
What we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on two-step
Doing awesome.
communication. So you can do,
I don't expect to ever watch
Cell
football
phone.
with you.
Yeah, why?
because it will. You wanna explain the multi-factor? So what it does is it adds a quick thing. It's not gonna do it every time you bust it, but it will.
Anyone
it's
could
double check
ever
like
sit
you
down
send it
and
here. It
watch
says, okay, is this really you? And so it's called a two-step verification. So
Right.
you're gonna click on get
And
started.
when I went in,
So go ahead and enter in your password that you just did.
Sean doesn't watch any sports.
He used to really follow.
Yeah, make sure you can get into your Gmail.
You know, I rallied the Super Bowl, I was stuff like that, and I do watch the big.
That's more of a cultural.
Thank you.
thing.
Yeah, so I.
Not me, Terry.
Now.
all right.
For her birthday.
Good.
Oh, is it her birthday today?
Okay.
So then
Yes.
what
Happy
phone number?
birthday.
So you can put in
Oh,
your phone
wow.
number.
Okay.
So just put in your actual phone number.
Now you know I like to bring in treats.
I know what. No, I left something out.
I love that jacket.
Cool.
Scroll down here.
Oh,
So you want to get it via text message,
I
it'll
know.
text
Right,
message you.
right.
but I love the jacket.
Thank you.
I was thinking on my
We'll
way
send you a
in.
text.
Very little about the art.
So last Monday was Labor Day.
Yep, yep.
Enter that.
Wasn't it
enter that
literally
code.
like 4
Wow.
or
Right
5
there,
days
that.
before
Yep,
that? There was
yep.
like
Oh, damn. You got to catch it?
It
Should it? No, it should be in your text.
Oh, it'll be there.
that's
Oh,
It'll be
okay,
that
okay.
top
And
one.
that goes right there.
And we have one other step to do and we're done.
But then I have to do it on 3 other things.
Yeah, well,
All you have to do is log in.
Yes.
And like,
She's,
you don't have to go through
she's
all
at the
this.
University of
Just
Florida.
use your new password.
we're
Oh,
probably proud of you.
Very good.
Was that one? I didn't even remember we talking about that being like her first.
Yeah, I mean, it was one, she didn't have like
It
a
worked.
super
So
clear.
hit turn on.
Read that she was really.
what do I hit? My Gmail account?
Yeah.
Couldn't have done it without you, bro.
Kind
Appreciate
of
it.
another choice, but she didn't, she loves it.
It's prompted us to do it, so we're gonna follow its instructions.
We're gonna follow it. 'cause-
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Because she's done, she's just done so much.
I thought it was a good thing at the time.
Called me like sick
so
or
Hannah-
anything.
There we go.
I didn't realize
My
She's
fingers
got
weren't
we have
warm
a
enough.
wedding on the 23rd, so she will come back.
But, I mean, just
And then
keep in
after
mind
that, we will see her.
Put in a new one.
Like, there's a sorority parents weekend, and then the regular parents weekend, and then Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. Like, it's like 3 weeks. Yeah, I just got signed.
Struggling the first year, I said.
Now, will it remember it?
Every month.
Oh, yeah,
She
it's
said now she doesn't, she's okay as a junior, but I said, don't keep her.
it's
So
amazing.
now we're gonna do one more step.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, I mean, once, this is the longest chunk of time, and then honestly, after that, it's every 3 days.
Right now, we don't need to.
Let's see if it does.
It shouldn't be linked. You could go try it. They're not.
How many years of my way to go to college, but they might want to go all day. 39.
That's what
Great.
I was saying. The same.
Okay.
So we have
All right.
one more thing to do. We have to do two-factor for you.
Now, am I gonna have to do this every time? I go
You'll have
to,
to sign in. Whenever you sign into the Chromebook,
cross
it will ask you.
country.
Not every time for
Cross
everyone.
country stars.
well,
They're doing really well.
will I have to do it on my?
Once we change the passwords on the other ones, then it probably will verify this part. So if we want,
And I was telling
have
Scott,
your email on this guy.
Prospect was
Yeah,
ranked number
I-
10 in
I-
the country, and York was like 25, and we just beat both of them this weekend.
Oh, no, that's not it.
Country, not in the
I'll
state.
move us forward on this guy.
York is a perennial.
Yes, they are.
Perennial cross country.
Actually, because
So
we
Chad
did the
wants
two
you in
races.
there, right?
We did beat them in the varsity race, but in the first 20.
Okay, there we go.
They have a whole field.
Yes.
I have to remember because that's a 6-digit versus 4-digit.
Yeah.
So how did year 2?
All right.
You guys are just trying to drive me crazy.
Not any blockers.
Than I already am. Ah!
She was not happy.
She's recovering.
Yeah, she had
All
a
right.
little bit.
Put
But
in your new password that you just created.
Okay,
you know,
all
they're
right.
a team, and the team total solid performance. And
That's
they're
good.
so good about cheering each other on.
Audrey's one of the top, I would say top 4 runners on our cross country team.
What?
We'll see, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
Yeah.
like she's been pretty consistent
Well,
for the
I
2
know.
years.
All right.
But well,
This.
yeah.
Oh, so
Very good.
prompts on your tab. What to add?
It's never.
Because I have,
It's good about.
Let's make sure we add your
Except for
phone.
Excel, happy for the team.
Because we can do 2 different things.
okay.
So we'll add a display.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Say,
It is.
touch
It is.
basically.
So yeah.
This
It's fun to be out
with
there.
a number that it's going to give you.
Where's the next one?
So we have to put in your cell phone number.
Peoria.
Saturday.
They do
Wow.
one free state meet in Peoria, which is fun. I think
For
that
every,
is
all
really
the, all
fun.
the schools? Wow.
I don't quite understand who comes to what meet, but it's a big one, I think,
Mm-hmm.
in Peoria.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I went last year. I'm now after 2 years. I go.
And I was going to send you a
I
text.
recognize being
And we
here,
just
like,
need the
fine.
numbers that it gives you in that
Sort
text.
of a
Here it
news
is.
for me on how it all works. So.
Fire those guys. You don't need the G, we just need the digits.
Okay.
Parents are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so if we have to be back in a routine, at least it's a routine.
Under pressure.
How are you?
Next.
Yeah? Trader Joe's well? Going well?
I have one of our downers.
Okay, now then, will I have to have my phone with me all the time?
Depending on where you're signing in. So
If I'm signing into this one,
if you're here on this Chromebook, it's going to ask you.
Okay, to adjourn?
so I have to bring my
So
phone
you
to.
definitely need to bring your phone.
Okay, because sometimes I forget it. Because this
Well,
is
that's all
not,
I'm here for.
this is not my entire life. I hate to tell you.
What? That doesn't. Who says this?
I am not,
At that time,
I am not
morale
14.
really low.
Okay, so now this is done. So now what do I do with this?
Should we
Fix your other ones.
Yes, we can move to adjournment.
Okay.
Yes,
Can I get a motion?
so moved.
So moved. Second?
And the
Second.
Jenny seconds. All in favor?
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Motion carries.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We're back next
Everybody.
week.
Yes.